Hello all listeners and welcome to this episode of Hacker Talk. My name is Philip and I will be your host during today's episode. For all our listeners out there, there's no secret that we love BSD. We have had Kristaps from OpenBSD, Antoine that makes Sit Upgrade, and Colin Percival who has contributed a lot to the FreeBSD ecosystem. But today we're going to find out what happens when you take the base of OpenBSD and the toolbox of Kali Linux. It's an excited episode we have in front of us. Let's jump into it. Something that gets me pumped up and excited to start the day in the morning is going on Twitter and seeing today's guests motivating videos. Those gets me through the day. Today is Fantastic Friday and it's a pleasure for me to welcome the retro gamer, hacker, red teamer, threat hunter, member and contributor to Nova Hackers, Mental Health Hackers, Grumpy Hackers, the Textures Podcast, and SecBSD. Welcome to Hacker Talk, Charles Shire, also known as the BSDBandit. How are you today?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. How you feeling today? It's Fantastic Friday. And for all the Starbucks drinkers out there, it's also Frat Friday. And you know, pumpkin spice is in the stores now. Just dropping plugs there. Ooh. Thank you for having me on your show. This is awesome.
So for all our listeners that have no idea who you are, what has been your journey into hacking and to BSD? How did you get here? Well, definitely, I'll tell you. So my journey starts, I do the Star Wars thing, a long, in a galaxy far, far away. I started off, again, I was a huge component of like the video games in general. Video games kind of started my journey into computers as a whole, right? I started my hacking journey while I was in college. So while I was in college, most students at the time, and this was like the late 90s when I started college. So at that time, a lot of people were using like Windows 98. That was the OS of choice or whatnot. And I wound up using Mandrake Linux at the time, right? And then I started learning about Linux and trying like different Linux operating systems from Mandrake to Slackware to Gentoo. Gentoo I started out with, and then when the Xbox came out and they did the whole modding scene, that's when I'd use Gentoo on the Xbox along with Puppy Linux. Oh, nice. And that's when I learned about Yum, because you can use that's where I learned about the Yum software manager, right? So now where BSD comes into the fold, I was working on Slackware one day and I was in IRC, of course. And IRC, I heard somebody talking about like FreeBSD. And I'm like, FreeBSD, that's interesting. So I want to definitely check that out. So I downloaded the floppy disk images, made it and put it on the floppy. It was actually on FreeBSD 4.8. And I got it to install on my Dell Pentium 2. That was my computer in college at the time, right? My desktop at the time. So I installed it on that. And then I just loved it. I love it, you know, and I was like, you know what? I can stick with this operating system. I like it. Okay, I got to come up with a screen name because, you know, everybody had their handle and everything else. So that was the cool thing. And I was like, well, I am a bandit in Linux, BSDBandit. I'll just be the BSD Bandit. And that was from like 1999, right? So I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, BSD Bandit. And then I learned the basic. I already knew the basics of Linux. And then I just started reading the ManPages, practicing the different commands and looking at how FreeBSD uses the file system versus like Linux uses the file system. And then that was pretty much my journey into hacking and learning like networking, basic networking. And then, of course, reading the RFCs and even to this day, if I want to really know something about a protocol, I don't go to the book. I go to RFCs because that's where the original designs are, you know, of whatever protocols you're learning about, whether it's DNS, whether it's HTTP, whether it's mail, SMTP, right? They all started out with some type of RFC. So that kind of got the ball rolling. Once I learned the basics of networking, and then of course I still learned on hacking Unix and playing with Solaris and AIX and IRIX. Shout out to Northrop Grumman for IRIX. But that was my like journey into the hacking scene in general. What
and
was
just
your
always
first exploit? Do you remember that, or like first time you were able?
Oh, my first script kiddie adventure,
or like first time you were like, wow.
Oh, my first script kiddie adventure was Sub 7. Using Sub 7 to get using Sub 7 to affect somebody's computer to gain total control over their computer.
Oh.
Yeah, that's when the addiction came in. It was just like, this is what I need right here. This is it. I want this feeling some more. And then, of course, as time went on, when we learned about like different exploits, and then learned how to use these exploits in the wild, and started looking at mailing lists. And of course, you learn a lot from just the mailing list alone. And even to this day, when you want to learn about different like problems or exploits, or try to make your own exploit in the wild, join up with some of these developer mailing lists and just sit there, you ask a question here and there. Hey, how does this work? How does that work? And it gives you more so like the inside of what they're not posting on Twitter or Discord or LinkedIn. You get to talk to the developers one-on-one, like, oh, okay, hey, you're having a problem. Or you could just make up a problem, social engineer your way to maybe finding a bug that way too. Say, hey, I'm having trouble. Let's use WordPress, for example. Get on the developer WordPress mailing list, right? And just say, hey, you know what? I'm having a problem with this version of WordPress. It keeps giving me this weird error, and you just go Google some type of error. I want to know more about how this works within the software. Can you help me? Is there a documentation guide for developers? Boom. More information, because the more, and we all know as hackers, the more information that you know about something, the better it is that you can be able to manipulate it later on. The more you know about something, the more you can manipulate it and make it do your will.
Absolutely. I feel like mailing lists are so underappreciated. Just like,
oh yeah,
I get the tips when I started playing around with OpenBSD. They're like, get on the OpenBSD mailing list.
Yes,
because as soon as you have a problem, you send them an email, and
they'll respond.
The author of the program that will respond.
Oh yeah.
And, within a day, you had like 4 or 5 different answers. They're really, really helpful when you're trying to debug stuff.
And I love Theo's conversations. Theo's he's an interesting fellow. Well, I love it though. And that, like I said, with SecBSD, right? Since we're talking about OpenBSD, with SecBSD. So for a while back, and a good friend of mine, Purple Rain, he really got the ball rolling on SecBSD, and I joined up with him not too far afterwards. And
wait. For all the listeners that have no idea what SecBSD is, like, what is it?
Oh, let's go. So SecBSD, and I was going to get into that, but so SecBSD is like the Kali Linux for BSD users.
Yeah, finally.
Yes. So what we're doing, and we're more so trying to just make a pen testing distro for the BSD community. We've got the base operating system, which is based off of OpenBSD, and we've modified it and tried to port we're actively trying to port more tools over, right, as we speak. And we've gotten a good amount of tools ported over. And now we're not trying to do everything like Kali Linux, because, if you want to do like DNS recon, there's probably like 10 or 11 tools that do the same thing.
Yeah.
For SecBSD, we don't want to do that. It's just more so, okay, a couple of tools that does just this. And if somebody has requests, or they want to be able to port the tool and say, hey, look, I have this port of this particular security tool. Can you add it into the next release of SecBSD? Cool. Awesome. Because our operating system is more so for hackers by hackers. Like, so completely 100% open source. If you want to volunteer and help out, great. You can check out secbsd.org. We're always looking for help. That's because, again, you know how tough it is with the project and to maintain it and to keep going and everything else, because life gets in our way sometimes to keep us from these projects. So we just have fun. It's just a fun open source project that
when did it start? When did you start getting involved in it?
November of 2019. So yeah, that's when it started, November 2019. And then I got involved probably say around that December of 2019 going into 2020. So, and I was just super amped about it, still am. And just ever since then, like testing new versions and trying out different things. And it actually brought life back into me as far as like porting stuff over with OpenBSD, because OpenBSD's porting guide is amazing. The documentation is amazing in the BSD world. So if anybody's using, anybody that knows and uses BSD, the documentation, there's whatever you have a question about, it's in that documentation. Like, it's amazing. So kudos to the BSD teams all over the world, whether they're doing FreeBSD, Open, or even Net, because everybody forgets about NetBSD.
They do.
NetBSD is awesome as well, too. I used to run it on my Sega Dreamcast. And a buddy of mine actually went over the steps to how to get it to run on his toaster, NetBSD, because they're designed to run on any piece of hardware. That's their goal. NetBSD is to run on any piece of hardware. OpenBSD is all about security. FreeBSD is more so like functionality. So I look at it this way. Look at it this way. In the BSD community, FreeBSD is more closer to the Linux side of the house for like functionality, speed and everything else, right? NetBSD, their goal is to be able to run on any type of hardware that's out there. Even if it's like a gum stick, it doesn't matter. NetBSD can run on it.
Yeah.
OpenBSD, more tied into security. They care about functionality, but to a certain extent, they don't risk sacrificing security for functionality. That's OpenBSD's entire makeup. And that's why we call it SecBSD, because it's based off of that. So, and those are our principles as well, too. So I love it. Shout out to Banshee and Purple Rain. SecBSD cool contributors.
Yeah, SecBSD have, because you take this defensive operating system and then you apply the offensive to it, and then create something. Yeah, make it. We're taking it this way: defensive operating system plus offensive operating system on top of that makes a beautiful purple operating system, meaning a unicorn. Offensive and defensive make purple. Red and blue make purple. Mm-hmm. So that's just my that's just my psyche. That's how I think about things sometimes. Red and blue makes purple. How is SecBSD following up with like the releases and stuff like that? Is it following OpenBSD releases or?
Yes, we stay on schedule with their releases, and then once they release, like say 6.7, then we come back and like, okay, this is what we need to. And I'm just using 6.7 as an example. And then we come back and like, okay, let's get our stuff modified so it works exactly how the changes came about in 6.7. So we make sure that our releases are mirroring what they're doing as well. So that's how we keep up with the releases. So we look at the release. Oh, okay, 7.1 has come out. All right. So SecBSD, but we don't call it like SecBSD 71. We'll call it like SecBSD version 2, version 3, or whatnot. So that's how we do it. But it's based off of the OpenBSD like 7.1 lineage or line or baseline.
What version is currently released? It's 1 stable.
It's just 1.0 stable.
Yeah.
We kept it at 1.0. But and again, what I just mentioned to you is just more so how we're changing that as well, too. It's just more so as a new release comes out, we're just going to name it 2.0. And then after that, 3, 4, and maybe 2.1. If OpenBSD does, say, for example, OpenBSD comes out with 7.2, right? We'll do SecBSD 2.2 just to kind of keep up with that standpoint, And then as patches are released, then we'll say 2.21 or something like that. We're still trying to figure that piece out, but I figure we go with that for starters.
Awesome.
As a change. Yeah.
What tools are you most excited about that are imported to SecBSD?
Oh, beef. Beef. I'm excited, and by the way, we're still trying to port Beef over because this is Ruby. These are Ruby libraries.
Yeah.
And you know how Ruby can be a little messy, especially in like the BSD world. Linux has, of course, the most support, but as far as like Ruby in the BSD world, sometimes it can get a little messy. But we're actively working to port Beef over to SecBSD. That's going to be a huge win. I can't wait for that. So that's what I'm amped about, because I still like hacking on Webb, especially like the API interfaces. I look at web applications now as houses, virtual houses. And I'll tell you why. Because, with the web application, when you're attacking it, a lot of us try to go through the front door, which is the authentication page, right? So the authentication page, I call that the front door. APIs are just doors. You know how like you go to somebody's house, they don't use the front door for the entrance. They use the back door. Yeah. Or they use the side entrance. Yeah. That's what I call the API. Okay. So you don't have to use the front entrance. Just go around the back or come in on the side. That's wide open. A lot of some places, they don't even lock the back door because so many people are coming in and out. They don't lock the back door. So that's how I look at an API from that standpoint. Like, you won't let me in the front door, but I know that back door is open somewhere. I know that API is giving me some type of information that allows me to get in through the back door. Or through the side entrance. You have version 1 of the back door. Okay. Oh, and you have version 2. Okay, cool. I'm going to focus on version 1 because I know there were bugs on. It's a reason why you went to version 2. So I'm going to go back to version 1 because that's where all the bugs live. There's more bugs with version 1 than version 2. Now, if you have 3 versions, wait a minute. What features did you add in version 3 that you didn't secure? Then if I find a version of the API, like say API version 3 is vulnerable to like say SQL injection or no SQL injection. Interesting. Then I'll go back and test that in version 2 and version 1 and see if that bug still persists. And that's just all like when I'm reporting it to the client in general.
Normally, read the change log, see what's happening. It just makes me thinking. I had a conversation the other day with someone, and he pitched basically backwards idea. So the idea would be to get all the new versions because at this particular client, they wanted to push new version. They didn't have time to audit it and stuff like that. So the higher risk of bugs were in the new versions that were force pushed by management. So he did the reverse during one pen test and he sent me the report to it. It was interesting. I haven't.
That is interesting. Like, and maybe from that standpoint, like you just said, like management forced, like, hey, listen, we got to get this out the door. Just go. Bugs or no bugs. Let's go. We'll figure it out later. And that's probably what happened, Yeah. But a lot of times I always try to think from that standpoint, like, okay, if I'm a developer and I have version 1, 2, 3, I'm like, okay, something in version 1 you didn't like had forced you to go to version 2. Something in version 2 forced you to go to version 3. And maybe it was just over time you saw something that I'm trying to find. Because again, as hackers, we only have to find one thing. Defenders have to find everything. One thing wrong and we can get in. That's our thing. That one misconfiguration, because that's where it's at nowadays, as far as like with hacking in general. We're looking for that one misconfiguration because developers over time, developers and security engineers have definitely raised the bar as far as like protecting their stuff, like as far as like with patching is concerned and making sure that things are the latest and greatest at that standpoint. So now all that's left is misconfigurations. And if you find just one little misconfiguration that allows you to gain access, even if it's just like low level user, then you can kind of maneuver your way from there. And that's one attack path. So
Absolutely. I haven't done pen testing in a while, but that's often a very, very nice way in. You just find some low level credential and
so it's always fun.
It is.
Well, hacking is fun in general.
It is.
I just like hacking in general, and I keep the original hacker spirit Like, I'm not looking at it from a standpoint like, there's new words now, cybersecurity and XYZ, it's a label on it. Like, for me, I look at it from the old school way of doing it. Like, it's just more so I don't accept things the way they are. I try to change it. We're in the world of technology, computers, programming language. If you want to customize something, write code for it. If you have to do the same thing more than once, write code for it. If you want to get into learning about programming languages, read a little code, write some code, read a little code, write some more code until you get proficient enough to where you might not have to look at the manual because you are the manual. But that's the fun. That's the adventure and the fun part of hacking in general, is learning as much as you can for as long as you can, and just have fun with this stuff. I think that's where, like, the state of, I say, hacking in general, I think it's, and Hollywood's partly to blame. Hollywood, and I think just like how it's become commercialized.
Yeah, stigmatization of it. And demonized by the media. And
oh yeah. Like we're bad, and it's just like, no, it's just, we're just different. We think differently. We look at the world through a different set of eyes, and we look at it from a standpoint like, hey, this is a bad thing. Look, we want to point this out to you to help you fix it. We're not breakers. We're fixers. That's what the mentality is. Like, hey, you find this as exploitable. Hey, I want to let you know about it so you can fix it. That's it. The people that actually break things and do bad things were crackers, cracking codes and just doing malicious things. And that was just the mindset. And script kiddies pressing the button, boom, I'm in your system. Not thinking about exactly. Yes. And it's not thinking about the damage that they're causing. That's the thought process I've come from. No buzzwords. It's like, hey, I do computers. That's it. And as you know, with BSD, it's a tinkerer's OS. It's a tinkerer's operating system. Like, I literally I installed FreeBSD on my Lenovo X1 Extreme, ThinkPad X1 Extreme. 64 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte NVRE drives, right? I love it. And I had to do some tinkering with the BIOS just to get 13.1 installed on that box, and recompile the kernel to get the IBM drivers working so I could do different things as far as like doing headsets, because I'm talking to you from FreeBSD right now, actually.
Oh, nice.
So yes, just to get like the headset, the camera, the webcam working. These are things that I had to. Yes. So I will tell you this: it's not like, and there's nothing wrong with Ubuntu Linux. It's a great operating system to start out with if you want to get into like the Unix world. But if you come to the BSD side of the house, it is a tinkerer's OS. It's not something that you just, click the button, this just works. No, they expect you to understand your hardware, understand the basics of Linux, Unix in general, right? Unix in general, because there's 80 base commands in Unix and Unix. And then everything, and the operating systems add their own little flavorful commands depending on what operating system it is.
Yeah.
How did I learn this? Shout out to Unix Powertools book. It's an old book, but that thing is power. I have Unix Power book from O'Reilly, 3rd edition. Learned so much. And how I learned that was do a man page a day. And that's anybody that's want to learn Linux or Nix in general, BSD, whatever it may be. Do this as a challenge. I challenge you to read 1 man page a day.
One man
page a day. Practice all the command line options for that 1 man page throughout the entire day. Whether you're on your lunch break, you eat an apple, do ls-a, do ls-l, do ls-d, whatever that man page in that man page for that entire day. Then come back the next day, practice what you've learned, apply what you've learned, but then move on to the next command, maybe copy. Do a man and read the entire man page of copy. Do this for an entire year and then come back. Danger.
But that's ManPages are they're so underappreciated, I think, in the BSD world as well. Because every command and also configuration files as well.
Yes,
you can look up configuration files in ManPages, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. VI till I die all day. I love VI. I love my HJKL. Because those are the only things you need to navigate the editor. Here's why, right? I learned this years later with Vim, right?
Yeah.
Vim years later, they came out with where you can use the up arrow, down arrow, left, right arrows, right? With the HJKL, that's always been there. No matter what version of Unix or Linux, you can always count on those keys functionalities to be there within the VI editor or Vim. It doesn't even matter because they were part of the original baseline with Unix. So those will never die out. With the arrow keys, depending on if it's an old version of Unix, it won't work.
Mm-hmm.
Or an older version of Linux, it might not work. But you can always count on that HJKL. That'll always be there.
VI and Vim, because of what you're saying, I think with the multi-platform support, then it's always, if you SSH symbol and VI is not there, then there's something wrong. Yeah.
Oh, very wrong. I don't know how it stands. It's like it'll probably be like a 3-legged animal by then. If it's doing that. And another thing, don't forget to have fun with this stuff. Like, as hackers, I think a lot of times we become so serious, we forget how fun tech really is, why we got into it in the first place. I truly think that's important, like whether you got your first modem or whether you got your first, made your first cable, these were all rewarding challenges, that you were able to overcome. Like, don't forget the fun aspect, that's why there's a SecBSD, not because it's for a certification or a project. None of that. It's just, hey, this is fun to work on. And then I made new friends as well, too, along the way, and I think that's worth more than any cert or anything in the universe. People, code, and computers.
You have it. The ultimate trio.
There you go. PCC.
Out it from the roof.
Yeah.
How does a normal day look for you? How do you allocate your time? Do you sit down and do like, I'm doing 8 hours straight, or are you like, I'm doing 1 hour, how do you chunk up your day?
Okay. So my day first starts at 5 a.m. I lift weights. I either lift weights or I go running, depending on the day. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I lift weights. On Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I work out every day, I go running, whether it's on a treadmill or outside, depending on how the weather is, right?
Okay.
That's from 5 to 6. 6 a.m., I'm just relaxing. It's quiet. I'm probably looking outside or sitting on the balcony looking outside, watching the sunrise or watching like the birds chirp or whatever else. Just something simple and just relaxing, not even touching the computer. 7 a.m., I get rolling. That's where the morning videos come in. And then after the morning video, I'll start looking at like CNN. I'll start reading like the different like bleeping computers, threat posts, Wired. I'll start looking at like different articles, what happened while I was asleep. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool or whatnot. And then from there, of course, my normal day job, see what's going on with email, making sure everything is up to snuff. If I have any meetings today, just, like the work routine. From there, as I'm going throughout the day, I'm like, oh man, lunchtime, it'd probably be look at Rust code because I'm into Rust. I treat Rust like my new little toy that I got for Christmas, right? So I'll read up on something related to Rust and I'll try it. I have VS Code up all day.
I was so against VS Code. I'm like everything I'll do in VI, and I still like my workflow is like Tmax and VI. That's how I functionate, and I've been doing it for years. And then I started doing more like production Rust. And VS Code and Rust Analyzer, and it's like
all
the tools, and you can do port. It automatically does port forwarding if it detects that. Yeah,
and you could do the terminal from right within VS Code to write to run cargo.
So dope. Cargo build, yeah.
Yes. Oh, cargo is life. I love my cargo. Love my crates. Oh. And the cool part is I love the fact and all the Rusticons out there. That's why it's funny because I remember, I think we talked about Rust a while back, right?
Totally.
And it's a reason why you notice I had a Decepticon t-shirt on, right?
Yeah.
For all the Rusticons out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a reason why I'm matter of fact, I'm thinking about getting a Rust t-shirt. I'll probably look it up online, but yeah, I definitely love the programming language. Like, even though it's system level, but it's so much more that you can do. I've even gotten to the point where I wrote Rust code to go get my tools from GitHub. It downloads it. I treat it like a little scripting language in a roundabout way. So it downloads my favorite tools from GitHub using GitHub 2 crate. It downloads it, but then it installs it on Kali Linux or whatever Linux I'm on using pip. Yeah, so I'm running the pip command from within Rust. Oh my goodness. It's on my GitHub. I'm going to put it in a chat. You can be like, what is happening over here?
Jesus. Yeah. Pip like in Python.
Yeah, because you can, because what got me thinking that way when I was looking at, I don't know, they was using Rust to extend Python.
Yeah.
To extend Python, right? Because Python was a little bit slower for them. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I don't know. I said, you know what? I don't know. It just hit me. You know how like the idea just hits you? There it is. You can check it out right there. I just put it right in the chat. Oh, and you can look at the code and see how it is, and using apt-get and the whole bit. So just keeping it fun. I thought that would be pretty cool just to be able to do it. And right now it installs Man in the Middle 6, Crack Map. You know, some of my favorite tools I actually use when I'm doing like pen testing in the Active Directory environment, and I have to run it on Kali. So yeah, I just say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna use Rust every chance I get to just do things for me.
That's awesome. One of the coolest or one of the most exciting like Rust crates that I looked into a while ago was are you familiar with Pledge on OpenBSD? It's like a code that you made. Yeah. So someone wrote a Rust crate to interact with Pledge for
what
program? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's hot.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to send me the link, but I got to look that up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. And it was talking directly to the syscall as well. It was pretty cool.
Oh, the Rust is amazing. Like any Windows folks out there that have to work with Windows or attack Windows or whatnot, Rust had like the Windows crate talks to all levels of the Windows API. It talks to every facet of the Windows API. That's amazing. And of course, you got to add a little bit like your librs and of course your main RS for your source or whatnot. But it's pretty cool. Here's a question for you with Rust, right? Like with coding style, is it more so because I noticed like there's of course the main. Does everybody do like I've noticed I've seen a lot of code where it's like the main function, and then sometimes I just leave the main where it's at, and I'll just write the function what I want to do, and then another function and another function, and then I put the names of those functions just in the main function. Is there a better way of doing it, or there's I'm always looking to learn.
So you want to have like a Python class or something like that?
Maybe just try something different. Maybe a class. Yeah. Is that a better way, or it doesn't matter?
Look into like traits and like more advanced struct and stuff like that.
Okay.
So like what I see is like I see Rust as like something between Python and C++, where you have like, in C++ you write like a struct, and it's not like a regular struct. You can execute things, and you can have different data types and whatnot. Okay. You can have like functions in the struct. So they've taken like that from C++, and then you've taken all the like functionality from or like all the pip stuff, like a pip manager. So all the like, good things about the Python with the you can use the library, and there's so many libraries and stuff like that. So they're taking like that part from Python, I feel, and then they smushed it in with C++.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna try that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to rewrite. You're hearing it live, folks. Trying to rewrite my Git tool. I call it the Bandit box. I'm going to try to rewrite Bandit box with using structs now. See, now I got a project.
Awesome. Now your listeners hear it. Now it's official. You can start.
Yes.
Start looking at GitHub on that.
Yes.
Go on, search.
It's fun stuff, folks. Like I said, I'm forever grateful to the BSD. Matter of fact, I'm forever grateful to the open source community.
Absolutely.
How about that? Like you guys and gals gave me life in this community, meaning a place where I can practice and learn different things by looking at the source code for free. The only thing that was spent was my time. That was it. But I'll take that any day. The road that I've traveled, like say, like from the Linux days, a lot of my college papers I wrote on a Linux box and then converted it over to Windows 2000 so the professor could read it using GhostScript. So I'm truly appreciative of everything and everyone in this community. Please continue to go be great, do great things. I love y'all all. And like I generally mean that. I'm a people person, passionate about people and things, like far as like with code and computers. I'm really enjoying life. This is a cool thing. Now, a lot of folks out there, and I'm just rambling on here, but a lot of folks ask that, hey, do you have a good day every day? Every day there's some type of problem that occurs, but I choose to look at the positive output to that problem. So it can be something that pops up. Of course, it's life. Life happens, but it's all how you I always look at it this way. Life happens, but it's all about your reaction to what happens. So I choose the positive reaction to stuff and just like, okay, cool. You know what? I'm still breathing. It didn't kill me. So I got a chance to fix it. Whatever else. And that's just how I handle it. So whether you see me on video, whether you meet me in person, the energy is the same. The only thing that's different from the energy is the screen. And that's it.
On dealing with because everyone has the mental problems of running into problems every day and running into frustration. And how do you deal with when there's a problem and you don't want to lay down and scream?
You know what? First thing, breathe. First thing is breathe. It's like, all right, cool. I have this issue here, right?
Yeah.
And this is my thought process. I have this issue here, and I'm like, okay. One, what are my options to fix it? After I've breathed, just breathe and just like, you know what? Step away from the computer or whatever the situation is that you're dealing with. Take a step back from that. Breathe. Have some time by yourself alone so you can think and collect your thoughts and breathe. And once you're doing that and you're collecting your thoughts, now let's see if you can get back to the problem. Like, okay, here's the problem. What are my options? Now, going into that, when say, what are my options? Always remember the options that may be presented to you may not be the options that you like, but it is an option as a solution to that problem. And two, you can get the solution that you want. So it's like taking it in baby steps. Because if you attack a problem all at once and not taking the time and the steps to breathe, then that's when more problems can occur. It's like a pile on of problems after that, you know? So I've learned in life, it's just like, you know what? Here's a problem. Take baby steps. First, breathe. Let me collect my thoughts. All right, come back to it. Okay, what are my options to solve this problem? Oh, I got 3 options. I don't like these 3 options, but you know what? I'm going to make the best of these options. I'm going to make the best choice for this option so I can get to a place where I can find more options to eventually solve that particular problem. So that's pretty much how I deal. And I take breaks, constantly sitting in front of the computer, constantly just like working on something. Sometimes you got to take breaks. Mental breaks are so important.
Take breaks? Because like you're saying, I think a lot of people are just, they're pushing themselves and they're pushing themselves and they're pushing themselves. And then 1 hour goes by, 5 hours goes by.
Mm-hmm. I do it every 3 hours.
3 hours. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it's within that time slot, if I need to take a break earlier, I just do it. I just take that break earlier and then just go from there. Because again, if you can't take care of yourself mentally, how can you take care of the job mentally? It all starts with you, it's only one you. So if you can, and always keep that mindset, it's only one me. It's only one you. Take care of you so you can take care of the job or the task. I'll say the task at hand. Because if you're not functional, how can you be functional enough for the task itself? So this is why when you want to take breaks, take a break, whether it's taking a walk. And it could be something as simple as taking a walk, go get a drink of water. It don't always have to be, hey, I need a lunch break, because a lunch break is kind of like you sit there, you're just kind of still going over the problem in your mind. They don't go away. Yeah. But if you just take that simple break, like, you know what? Well, I've been looking at this too long. I can't figure it out. Let me get up. Let me go take a walk around the building. Depends on where you're located, and just take a nice walk. Get in some of that fresh air, that vitamin D outside. The sun is beautiful. Let's embrace it and then bask in it. Not too long, but enough just to kind of collect your thoughts. So that's how I take breaks in general. Usually every 3 hours. But if it's something that like within those 3 hours that I just can't wait those 3 hours, then I take a break right away and just take that walk. And that's what helps me out a lot.
Do you set alarms or do you just 3 hours?
No, it's a mental clock. It's a mental clock. Like if I start my day at 8 o'clock, right? If I start at 8 o'clock, right? The next break for me would be like 11. And it's just something you look down and be like, oh, okay, I've been in 3 hours. Let me just take that break, whether it's a walk or a lunch break if I'm hungry. But if I'm not hungry, it's just like a walk. However, and then the next 3 hours come like, oh, okay, let me take that break. Now, if I need to, if it's something that pops up and I just need to take a break right away to handle something that's urgent, then I do that. And then that way I'm constantly moving. You're constantly moving around. You're not just sitting in one spot for 8 hours. Yeah. Because again, a lot of us are remote. So it's like you're never really off work mentally. A lot of us. Like we look up, it's 12 o'clock. We've been working on a problem. Whoa, wait a minute. It's the next day. Like it just goes that quick if you allow it. So that's why it's always good to take breaks. If you have like smartwatches, right? Take time out to configure your watch to the maximum ability. Like if your watch counts steps, use that technology. That's another thing too. Like we have all of these devices and we don't use it to its fullest potential. But if you have a smartwatch, use the activity steps or whatever's built into it, to count your steps. Like, oh, okay, cool. And that could be something like a challenge for yourself. Like you'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna see how many steps I could do in a day when I take breaks and get up and walk around. And then you come back like, oh, okay. And then you look at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I took this many steps, but you don't realize it because you're in the heat of everything. But after you slow down and you look at your risk at the end of the day, you're like, or before you put it on the charger, you're like, oh, wow, I took these many steps in. Great. And you feel good because it's just kind of like, okay, I'm moving. I'm trying to stay healthy. I'm trying to stay healthy, not just mentally, but physically as well. And you'd be surprised. And 2, get sleep. We cannot run from sleep. Get sleep. If you had a late night, sleep in. Get that amount of rest, because late nights and early mornings don't mix. I don't care what they tell you. I know we've all done that in the past, but late nights and early mornings, they don't mix.
That's nice.
And you feel worse. and then we're sucking down caffeine like, oh my goodness, I got to get the caffeine. But it's all a mental thing. The caffeine side is like, oh my gosh, mentally we think we need the caffeine to keep us going. So that's the thing. That's what helps me, and hopefully that helps someone else as well too.
How many hours do you get per night, or aim for normally?
8. If I go to bed, a lot of times my bedtime is 10 o'clock. And what I do, I got my iPhone to set automatically 9:30 p.m. the do not disturb mode. My phone will not ring. It's on silent from 9:30 to 7 a.m. So when I'm in bed at 10, I wake up. It's around 5:30. I wake up around like 5. Yep. And I start the day, and I get up, I wash my face, get cleaned up, and I go exercise. I don't touch a computer or anything. I go exercise, go walking around. Then after I come back from exercise, shower up, listen to the news or whatever I want to listen to, like music wise, because that's what those songs that I play on the video, that's what popping in my head.
Nice.
So yeah. So that's how I do it. I aim for 8. Gotta have it. I'm in my 40s. I gotta have it.
Yeah, you gotta have some good sleep to be able
Oh yeah.
to function.
Yes, sir. Whew. So yeah, that's.
Are you planning on doing any cool Rust projects, or what's going on in your Rust world?
So in my Rust world, what I'm attempting to do for several different projects out there right now, the first one that I'm on, I'm trying to rewrite Responder in Rust.
You write Responder in Rust?
Yeah, and call it Rustponder.
Rustponder.
So taking the tools that's already out there and rewriting them.
That's cool.
So seatbelt, and it'll last me a lot, because there's always new projects or whatever. And I just want to see if I can rewrite them in Rust. And that's helping me learn Rust in different ways as well, too. And the tip that you just gave me today was structs. I'm going to try it that way as well, too.
Structs and
so always constantly learning. Yeah. So that's the project I'm working on right now. I hope to have it before December to release it, that people can try it out. But yeah, that's where I'm at with Rust on it, rewriting a lot of different tools that's already out there, but rewriting it and porting it to Rust. And I feel like that'll really help my Rust knowledge and learn from folks like yourself and everybody, all the other Rusticons out there. I live in that Discord channel. I live in a Discord channel because just sitting and watching, like, oh, they do it this way. Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, that's where I'm at with the Rust world.
What do you feel, changing the topic completely? What do you feel we're moving from? Do you think we're moving from IRC to Discord?
Yeah, you know what? I think so. Because the generation, as time goes on, we are. IRC, look at it this way. Discord is just IRC with the GUI and videos.
Yeah.
That's all it is. The landscape is the same. It's just that there's more buildings on the foundation now. The foundation just started out with just like text-based stuff. And as time went on, we've built on top of that. Like, okay, yeah, the text base is great, but we're going to add video. We're going to add some more colors. We're going to add like a interface, an application where you can run it on your phone, where you can, so we're building off that base foundation. I still use IRC to this day. Still, I'm in the IRC cloud. I've moved over to LibreNet because Freenode is gone. I'm still in Ethernet. So I'm all over the place, but I still use IRC because a lot of my friends, they're still on IRC. They don't use Discord like that. They use IRC. I'm like, okay, cool. And it's just still fun. It gives you that nostalgia, that fun nostalgia, being slapped with a slippery fish
I still find it very, very useful to be on IRC, especially because there's a lot of like programming channels on IRC.
Yeah.
Like, I've had so much, like you said, Freenode is not available anymore, but the LibreChat and the hashtag programming, I had a lot of help there, and also
I'm in the Rust channel for that.
The Rust channel on LibreChat as well. It's pretty good. And it's easy to get help that way. Yeah.
And then I'm also in the 2600 club. 2600. They have a channel as well too. But yeah, I like IRC is just it. I love it.
Me too. Me too. But what's your IRC client? Maybe mention that.
IRSSI.
Yeah.
IRSSI, because it's so customizable, it's insane. And you can go back to the old Perl days with IRSSI.
Didn't they wait like 15 years to release a new version or something like
that? They did. Yeah, they did.
A long wait, but finally it was pushed out.
Yes, but you know what? Hey, there's still Perl monks out there. There's still some Perl monks out there. They're getting the job done with their Perl scripts and making it work. That's what it's all about.
It is.
You know, some people say, oh, that language is old. It's old, but effective. And there's a lot of Perl still out there, just like there's a lot of Python 2 point whatever is still out there floating. And it's just like with the phone freakers, right? Phone freakers are now just the new voice over IP engineers. If you think about it,
I never.
Look at it. Think about it. If I was into like freaking back in the day, and a lot of I've met one person that used to be heavy into the phone freaking scene, and he does voice over IP. He does VoIP. He likes phones. He likes telecommunications. So VoIP was the way, and he's the one that put me onto. It was OpenBit. OpenBit is like a building your own cell tower with wireless routers.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I mean, he's into the Burning Man thing and the phones, and yeah. So
VoIP, or I would think there's a lot, because a lot of people messing around with like SS7 and with the radio and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all connecting. Yeah,
it is. It's all connected. You know, the ham radio crew. Some of the best radio folks I've ever met was at NASA. And they had their own little radio club, and they had the old CB4 radios. And I mean, they're just CB radios. I mean, they're just rocking out. You know, it's all what you're into.
Absolutely. Got to find what you like and have fun with it. So.
GNU radio. And what was it? Ice Weasel.
Ice Weasel, yeah.
Yeah.
Weasel, yeah. You could live stream over the internet.
Yes.
I don't want to say too much, but a friend of mine had a pirate radio station, and for Ice Weasel, they were able to stream from the transceiver of the radio to the computer and then out on the internet.
Classic.
Yeah.
Those OGG files, those OGG files.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, Philip here from Post Production. And turns out we're talking about IceCast. Yeah, IceCast, not Ice Weasel. It's linked in the show notes. Alright, back to the show.
Classic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's awesome. So where do you think we're going with the future of information technology and security? Do you think we're getting better? Or do you think we're going to have the same type of attack that we have now? Or where do you think the field is moving? I feel very optimistic because we're getting better at security migrations. And where do you feel the field is moving?
I think the field is moving more towards everything's an API. I think they're trying to fit more into the API side of the house than they are with just, I mean, you have the applications, but they're trying to fit more into the API space And again, we're trying to attack the API space, and everything is moving more into the browser. The browser is the future because the browser is more like an operating system right now. So imagine 10 to 20 years from now, because that's why all these different plugins and everything are happening within the browser, whether it's Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and even from the mobile standpoint, you're going to start seeing more plugins for those particular mobile browsers that are built in, and of course, those are going to have APIs, and then those are going to be need protection. So I think that's where the world is moving. We're moving to more of a cloud. It'll be more cloud-based startups and everything else popping up. And of course, those are going to rely on APIs. I think APIs are definitely the now and in the future, but with more capabilities and more functionalities. Even with, I was looking at Rust the other day. I keep going back to Rust. I was looking at Rust where you can create your own API with Rust. There's some people doing that right now too. So they're using these system level programming languages to create their own APIs. So you're going to start seeing more of that, I think, in the near to distant future. So I think that's where we're heading, is the age of APIs times 10.
That's a good trademark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. Especially with the rise of WebAssembly as well.
Yes. Oh, and WebAssembly amazing.
Oh,
listen. Running Rust code. Yes. Running Rust code in the browser. And what I'm trying to figure out now is, because Firefox has it's like a file system plugin where Firefox is able to access the file system, right? And then they have a file system API.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how can WebAssembly manipulate that piece? How can they manipulate an API and be able to drop code on the disk or run it in memory? These are things that I think about, like how to do that in memory and interchange, since the browser is the focus for the future. You can run C# in a browser. You can also run. Now, C# was different. It was EM script that allows you to run C# in the browser. It's called EM script. I tried it out a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And that's how I found out about WebAssembly and Rust. Because WebAssembly allows you to run. I'm like, well, if it allows you to run these different system level programming languages in the browser, then there must be something more that you can do to take advantage of the APIs that are built into the browser to maybe be able to drop code on the disk. If somebody clicks on a link, maybe to create a user account on that user's device, and that could be a backdoor and give you like a password to log into the device at any time that you want. That's a backdoor attack path right there. And then you can start working your way on, so these are things that I think about constantly when it comes to the browser WebAssembly. I mean, WebAssembly is amazing because people are writing games in WebAssembly.
They are. And it's impressive as well. I heard that some developer was able to port what's the name of the Unity? It's the game frame. Unity. Yeah. Game from Unity being able to run in the browser.
That's amazing.
If they're able to do like so good performance with WebAssembly and all the
imagine
that are just amazing. It's like, are we going to be able to run like video games, like real high end video games?
I think so.
With advanced graphics.
I think so.
That would be really cool.
Yes. Definitely. So yeah, that's where I see everything going in general. And so we're all about the browser.
Oh, awesome. So do you have any future or do you have any cool project that you're currently working on?
Right now, continuing with the offensive, I call it the offensive Rust tour. Cool. We're coming to a software near you. Going around just trying to port as many projects as I can to Rust while porting that same energy into SecBSD because I want to help build SecBSD up even more in not only finishing out this year, but going into 23 as well too. So definitely look towards that as well too. Just being better with the release time, with the release dates and the release versions as well. These are the main projects that I'm working on. And again, at the same time, continue on having fun, spreading love and positivity as well too. Take it up another notch and hacking health one bit at a time. So these are things that I'm working on projects wise.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I've run out of questions right now. Do you have any? Do you have anything that you would like to bring up that you think that I forgot to ask you, or any topic that you would like to dive deeper into?
I mean, you've asked all the questions. We went over a lot of the stuff already, but I just want to say to folks who are listening, just again, don't forget to live life. We only got one life. Enjoy it to the best of your ability. It's not all about the financials. You know, we may not be where we want to be, but I'm thankful that we're not where we used to be. So get out there, go do great things, spread some love. If you want to chat anytime on Twitter, I will answer you. It doesn't matter. Send me a DM 3, 4. I might not be up, but I will answer you the next day. And I just want to say, I love y'all all. Let's rock out and have fun together and keep this thing going. This thing called hacking. And enjoy yourselves. I love y'all.
Perfect. We're going out on that. Amazing. Thank you everyone that tuned into this episode. Thank you for listening to Hacker Talk. And thank you, the BSDBandit, for being our guest of honor today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm truly honored to be on the show.
It's always fun to hear about SecBSD, and let's do a follow-up episode soon when you get when Beef is live.
Okay, you know what? Let's do that. You heard it live, folks.
You heard it live. Thank you for your time today, and to all listeners, have a good one, and I'll see you in the future.